Hi guys, welcome to Drama Lesson 3. Now this lesson is on stage space. So this is on the different types of stage space that are around and are available to use in theatre. We see very conventional ones when we go to the theatre, such as Curve, the Playhouse, Theatre Royal, any West End stage. They are very traditional in their setups. However, if you go to some smaller theatres, you can see very different stage setups. And also in drama, in GCSE, we encourage you to use a wide range of stage setups to give a different audience experience and a different experience for you as an actor. It's always good to put yourself in different situations to see what you find the most comfortable and what you find the most engaging for an audience. This is on stage space. So the first stage space we're looking at is what we call a proscenium stage, so an end-on staging. A proscenium arch stage. The reason it's called a proscenium arch, as you saw in last lesson 2, has an arch that goes over the top. You can see at the top of the picture there, you can see a curtain that just goes on the top of the stage. That is a proscenium arch stage. A proscenium arch stage is what we actually have at the John Fernley Auditorium. So if you go in there, you see the stage and you see the curtains framing the stage. This is a very popular type of staging and the traditional stage you see at a lot of theatres that you go to. A proscenium arch stage is defined as an audience on one side of the stage. So there's only audience on one side of the stage. It might curve round slightly, but generally there's an audience on one side of the stage. Okay, so that's proscenium arch staging. Again, these are all stages that you'll need to know if you came to do GCSE drama. In GCSE, section A of the paper is on stage spaces and stage positions. So proscenium arch stage is something you would need to know. It sometimes is shortened to the term pros arch. Okay, second type of staging is theatre in the round. Theatre in the round is used for experience performances. Okay, theatre in the round is defined as a staging that has audience on all four sides of it. So this does not actually have to be round. Theatre in the round is a term. It can be a square stage, it can be a rectangular stage, but it has audience all around the stage. Okay, that's why it's called theatre in the round. We have something called a traverse staging, and traverse staging has the audience on two sides of the stage. Okay, this is most commonly used in things like fashion shows and has two entrances and exits. Okay, so you've got audience on two sides of the stage on a traverse stage. Okay, next type of staging is a thrust stage. So you've got the stage thrusting out into the audience and it has audience on three sides of the stage. Okay, it is used in many theatres up and down the country, quite popular as well as a type of staging as it gives that extra experience. Now a thrust stage can be confused with a proscenium arch stage. A proscenium arch stage has an apron on the front, not quite a thrust stage that's not thrusting out into the audience. The thrust stage has the audience on three sides of the staging. Okay, so these are the stagings that we have here. So have a think now about any pros and cons that you could have. So any possible benefits and disadvantages of the types of staging below. So list them as bullet points on a piece of paper and have a think. So pause the video now to have a go at that. Okay, so now I'm going to go through a couple for each type of staging so you can have a little look and see whether you're right. So a proscenium arch. It says that it can window. It's like a window frame having a look at the stage. It's the most common type of staging. It has an invisible fourth wall. So quite often you can go and see a performance, a very naturalistic performance, and it can make it look like you are just looking into somebody's world. This type of staging gives everyone in the audience a good view because the performers need to focus on one direction rather than continually moving around. However, sometimes it can lack that intimacy. So if you're really trying to connect with the audience and you're there, someone's sitting right at the back of the auditorium, it can sometimes make it so that they don't get the same emotional impact they might on a different type of staging. Okay, in the round staging, so the audience is quite close to the action and it provokes that feeling of intimacy, involvement in the performance. You feel like you're really connected and engaged with what's going on. However, sometimes you can't have scenery because it obstructs the actors and entrances and exits normally made through the audience. So it makes it very difficult to make surprise entrances and it's quite closed off. A thrust staging has, again, audience on three sides Again, it's quite intimate if you go out into a thrust element of the stage, but it retains the backstage area. So you can still have set on the stage, you can still kind of create that mood and atmosphere with the staging around you, but it's still got that intimate element. It employs the fourth wall, so there is a fourth wall there, but not on all sides. So you can't really imagine that you're in their world because they're coming out into the audience. So sometimes you could block people's view as well, because if you're sat on a particular area of the audience and an actor stood there, you might be able to block their view. So sometimes you can have that problem of line of sight. Okay, a traverse stage, a stage where audience sits on two sides, is good for creating an intimate atmosphere as you're close to the audience. Sometimes this is good for fashion shows, as if you're sat on the front row, you can really see the detail in the garments that are being shown to you. It's an unusual form of staging, as you can't go off in the middle of the stage, you have to walk right to the end, and sometimes you have your back to the audience. So if you're facing one half of the audience, you've got back to the other half, so that can be an issue as well. A couple of questions now, see if you were having a look at the pros and cons. So, number one, when performing in the round, which of the following do you need to consider? So A, you have to change your position frequently. B, you have to be aware of your backdrop. Or C, you have to ensure you stay centre stage. Have a think about that one. Okay, the answer to question one, I would forgive you if you thought you had to stay centre stage, because you think you could move around. But however, the answer is A. You have to change your position frequently, as otherwise if you stay in one position, the person behind you will never get to see your face. So you always have to make sure you're turning around and constantly aware of your audience. Okay, question two. What type of stage is shown below? So is it A, thrust stage, B, proscenium arch stage, or C, traverse stage? Okay, the answer to question two is a thrust stage. It's A, because you've got audience on three sides of the staging. Okay, it's not a proscenium arch, that's one side, and a traverse stage is two sides, so it's a thrust staging. Okay, got a bit of I think it's 5 questions now. I'm going to show you some pictures, and what I would like you to do is write on a piece of paper what type of staging you think it is. So reminder, they are proscenium arch, traverse, thrust, theatre in the round. So have a think about which type of staging you're about to look at. So that is question 1. What type of stage is that? Okay, moving on to question 2. So have a look and think about what type of stage you think that one is. Okay, moving on to question 3. What type of stage is that one? Very interesting performance there. And question 4. What type of stage is that? And question 5. What type of stage is that very grand theatre there? Okay, here are the answers. So question 1 was an end-on stage. Okay, you could call it a proscenium arch stage, however it hasn't got the arch over the top of it. So an end-on staging would be what that theatre is. Question 2 was a thrust stage. Question 3 was a thrust stage. Question 4, sometimes called an arena stage, but theatre in the round is what we were looking at today, but sometimes it can be called an arena. And question 5, proscenium arch staging. So let's go back and have a look at that. And that's an end-on staging, because over the top of the acting, there's no arch. Audience on 3 sides, so a thrust. Again, audience on 3 sides, so a thrust staging. Again, theatre in the round, but it could be an arena, so like Wembley Arena, the Rico Arena. They're all arena stagings, but they could be called theatre in the round. And they're a proscenium arch staging. Okay, thank you very much. Take care.